yes, I'm back. Well, almost. So on this day, last year, I uploaded episode 1 of the Technically Homeless Van Build series. This was supposed to be the start of regular fortnightly uploads. At least, that was the plan. First of all, I want to start off by apologizing for the lack of episode releases, and in this video, I want to explain exactly what's been going on. After releasing episode 1 on Boxing Day, I decided to take a break and relax for the rest of the holidays and ease into preparing for episode 2 after New Year's. I also made a New Year's resolution. I wanted to make sure that my van was 100% mechanically sound before continuing the build. So I booked my van in for a full major service, and at the same time, I had my van retuned to maximize performance and efficiency. Between the tune and the service, overall it set me back about $3,500. Soon after that, I replaced the tyres that I'd had on the van since I bought it. The tyres I went with were the Kumo Road Venture AT52s, which at the time had a deal going that made the total cost of all 4 tyres only $717. When I took the tyres to get fitted, I also got the rear brake pads replaced and I got a new wheel alignment done, and all of the general processes you go through when you're getting tyres fitted. It made the total cost of that trip to the mechanics $507. So now we have a total value of everything spent on the van so far coming to about $4,700, or thereabouts. Around the same time, I came to the conclusion that working at the petrol station just was not financially viable anymore. So I went looking for a new job, preferably something part-time that allowed me to work on the van on my days off. I found a job as a roving cleaner, cleaning water treatment plants and depots in my local region. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was sustaining the cost of the maintenance, and I managed to hold on to that job for a solid 6 months. Unfortunately, this is where the year starts to fall apart. Heading into April, I helped my sister move from one house in Geelong to another. The only issue is Geelong is on the other side of the city to where I live, and because of my new work schedule, I really only had weekends where I could help. And that leads us to the first disaster of the year. Late one Sunday night, after the final run, I went over a speed bump a little too fast. That caused an overpressure in the fuel line and snapped a clip that connected the fuel tank to the fuel filter. Fuel sprayed everywhere, to the point where when I called RACV, who are the roadside assistance company in Victoria, they suggested that I called the fire brigade to help manage the spill. Thankfully, I managed to pull over safely to the side of the road before the van shut itself off. But that wasn't the worst part. I still had to get back home so that I could work the next day. Without my van, that meant that my sister had to drop me off only halfway, and then after that, I got an Uber to take me the rest of the way home. RACV were kind enough to cover the full costs of the Uber, which helped the situation a little bit, but I wasn't comfortable leaving my van in that area overnight. So I made what I thought was a good decision at the time. I moved all of my expensive items out of the van and into my sister's old house. Turns out, bad idea. A couple of days later, I get a call from my sister telling me that the house had been broken into. One of the things stolen was an 80-litre tub filled with all of the equipment that I needed to film episode 2, including a new unopened DJI Action 4 that I film with, that I had bought myself as a Christmas present and also a reward for releasing episode 1. All up, around $500 of stuff was stolen. And yeah, if you've watched episode 1, or at least you've watched the end of episode 1, I mention that my shipping container that I had at my mum's house when I was working on episode 1 was broken into, and the thieves stole about $4,500 worth of electrical equipment for the van, which now means in the span of 4 months I had been robbed twice of my equipment for filming the Technically Homeless van build series, and in total about $5,000 worth of stuff. So yeah, not great. Anyway, I get the van back on the road and things seem to be running smoothly. That is, until late April. The day before Anzac Day, I was driving towards Geelong again to help my sister out with something else. About halfway there, I get impatient and I decide to pick up the pace a bit. Bad idea. I drove straight through a speed camera doing 34 kilometers over the limit, which in Victoria is an automatic, immediate license suspension. However, the suspension didn't take place immediately, but would come back to haunt me in the future. Here's where things really start to go sideways. While driving a work run shortly after, I noticed my air conditioner only blowing out hot air, even on the coldest setting. Odd, I thought. But before I could even comprehend what that may have meant, I see in the side mirror white smoke pouring out of the exhaust. I pulled over the van when it became safe to do so and popped the bonnet. Coolant was bubbling violently in the reservoir and there was brown sludge everywhere. I knew immediately I'd just blown a head gasket. I called my mum to come pick me up and I finished my work run in her car and I got my van towed back to the mechanics, where it would be for the next 5 months. By the time my birthday rolled around in September, I really needed the van back, at least just to get through my birthday week of all the places I needed to go. I pushed the mechanics to hurry up and get my van ready to be driven again by my birthday. That was the next big mistake. I get the van back and it lasts 10 hours before it starts overheating again. Again, the coolant reservoir was bubbling and there was brown sludge everywhere. I thought I'd just blown my head gasket again. When I called the mechanics, they reassured me that I probably pulled over early enough to cause any harm like the head gasket blowing again. And after towing it back to the mechanics, they diagnosed the issue and discovered that the cooler was damaged and leaking coolant into the oil mixture, causing the same sludge effect that you get when you've blown a head gasket. But when it came to repairing that damage, which was covered under the warranty of the first repair, so I didn't have to pay for it, but I did get the invoice of the first repair when they first fixed the head gasket. $10,000. That brings our total price up now to about $14,700. At the same time that all of this was happening, the adjournment I had on my license suspension had come to an end. So, backtracking a bit, when I first had my letter in the mail telling me that my license was suspended, I tried contesting it in the hopes that I could go on some kind of restricted driving, like work only use or something like that. But no. In Victoria, it's very black and white. You drive 25 kilometers over the speed limit and you lose your license for 3 months. On top of that, a second job I picked up for a little bit of extra cash flow fired me on my probation period. And without a license, I could no longer work my roving cleaner job, which meant that now I'm without a job, a license, and my van. And now that brings you up to speed on why I haven't been uploading. So, what happened next? Well, weirdly enough, while I was working on my birthday, I get a text message from my old boss at the petrol station. She asked if I wanted to fly to Queensland to help run a motel. Flights and accommodation, all covered. I said yes immediately, for 2 reasons. 1, it sounded like a fun adventure. 2, I could serve out my 3 months license suspension in a small place where everything is within walking distance. And 5 days after losing my license, I was on a plane. As of filming this update, I'm in a place called Winton in Queensland. It's about a 24-hour drive from home, or 2,000 kilometers away. It's an outback town, it's very remote in the middle of nowhere, and very hot all the time. I've spent the last 2 months at this hotel managing 26 rooms, thankfully never all on the same day, but I'm only here for another month until I get my license back, and then I'm going back home. As much as I've enjoyed my experience here in Winton, I am very happy to be going back home to Warburton in a much colder climate. So what's next? Well, when I return to Warburton, I'll have my license back and my van ready to go. Yes, the mechanics still have it as of recording this video. There's a lot that I need to do before continuing the build, and it might take me a little bit of time to be 100% ready to go again. But for anybody wondering whether this series was abandoned, it wasn't. I'm ready to come back stronger, more prepared, and with a hell of a lot more motivation. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and rest assured, I'm not done yet.